Buenos dias, buenas tardes, y buenas noches, bonjour, bonsoir, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, wherever you may be. Slater case, and it is the Sunday roast. And this time we are not having Welsh lamb as our Sunday roast. We are traveling north of the border, and I guess it's haggis. If it's Scotland, there must be haggis. And of course, that means it is Gobshite, Gobshite 180, Janey 180, the person that started all on board, fully appreciative of the foul play narrative. And then, for whatever reason, just like a few others out there, decided that it made sense to switch sides, even though we never got and never get an explanation what facts changed that opinion. So it is, of course, Elliott herself, the horse-faced one, Gobshite from Glasgow, we are featuring today. Chosen background of the day, that unforgettable message that came from Delmac, who, of course, Gobshite claimed was her dear friend, her good Scottish friend. Um, and when she mentioned getting good old Delmac onto me, Delmac revealed that he is not, in fact, a friend of Gobshite. And we go back to this claim that Gobshite has, over 1,000 Facebook friends. Yeah, but if they're Facebook friends, as in Delmac is a friend, then really you have zero Facebook friends. I think we can see the pattern here, this delusion that someone is friendly with her when the evidence says completely the opposite, the contrary. So if I get my fat head out of the way, just a reminder of what Delmac actually said. A message for Miss Elliott, and I like the way that he decided to minimalize the E of Elliott. It is lowercase. But big M for miss. Yes, I think that's a sarcastic miss, and little e is appropriate there. A message for Miss Elliott. Stop effing branding my name around. Fight your own battles. And this is the problem one has when one thinks that one is supported by many a person. And the truth is, there is no support there. If you have a look through, and Jan's Views has pointed this out many times, the number of likes or comments that go into or go toward Elliott's posts on her own channel, few and far between. And I think this is the evidence that there is no great support for Elliott's views out there at all. We don't see any family members chiming in. We don't see any of the established AG really chiming in. I mean, on the latest post that I'm going to read out in just a second because it is so hilarious, we have two comments, one like and two comments. And if you go through, it's been that pattern, it's been that way forever. Usually, the vast majority of comments on Jane's channel are from Jane. Conspicuous by its absence, the accident group in general, backing Jane all the way. So it tells me that even within that circle, she is dislikable to the highest degree. But I digress. Let's get into the latest post from Gobshite from Glasgow. Now, Gobshite says, interesting, is it not, that Smith and Jan are not highlighting Sonia Poulton's latest exposing dodgy men. I guess Gobshite means expose of dodgy men. Um, I don't find it. Let me answer that point first of all. In the Sunday roast here, no, Gobshite is not interesting at all. In my case, that I'm not highlighting Sonia Poulton's latest exposure of dodgy men, not interesting at all, because I had no idea that's what Sonia Poulton was doing. So if I've got no idea what Sonia Poulton's latest project is, it's not that interesting that I'm not commenting on it. It's a simple explanation. I had no idea that's what she's doing. On the other hand, now that I do know Sonia Poulton, apparently, according to Gobshite, the most unreliable source north of the border and south of the border, yeah, I'm fine with highlighting Sonia Poulton's latest exposure of dodgy men. I'll do it right now. Anyone and everyone that might be interested in Sonia Poulton's exposing of dodgy men, please go and follow that and let me know what your comments are. There we go. Are you happy now, Gobshite, that I have highlighted Sonia Poulton's exposing of dodgy men? Gobshite goes on. If she's a journalist worth her salt, I'm sure she will be able to do a deep dive on Matthew Burley too. And I'm more than prepared to help Sonia with this. And I put her in touch. Yeah, I can put her in touch with my own press contacts. Oh, so all of a sudden, Gobshite, who said her great Scottish friend Delmac would come and support her, this was the reality. Yeah, go fight your own effing battles. Now claims she has press contacts. Well, well, well. Tell you what, Gobshite, why don't you give us a name or two of any of your press contacts, and I would be more than happy to contact them, let them know all about you, let them know all about me, let them know all about what I know about Matthew Burlow. Would that be fine? How about you put an actual name out there? Oh, you might be shy of putting a name out there in case this happens, huh? I mean, almost guaranteed, I would say. So yeah, delusions of grandeur. Gobshite in that tumble down absolute hovel of a shite house in Drumchapel, claiming to have press contacts. Yeah, right. Palestinian free press contacts for the Gaza Chronicle, maybe, but nothing of any connection, I would say, to Scotland. Hey, you never know. Maybe Gobshite will put a few names out there and we can all contact her press contacts and let them know what's going on here. Now, she mentions Matthew Burlow. She's had several run ins with Matthew Burlow. It is time to, as part of the roast, go over the facts again. Matthew Burlow is a Scottish lawyer that Jane Elliott decided she, through the Scottish Law Society, would take to a tribunal for God knows what. I guess inappropriate conduct. I have no idea. But the facts of the matter are, after that tribunal, the four claims that Elliott presented against Burlow were all rejected. These are the facts. Google the Scottish Solicitors Tribunal. I can't remember the exact wording of it, but if you Google Scottish Solicitors Tribunal, Matthew Burlow, Jane Elliott, you'll get all the information. So the result of that tribunal was a 4-0, 4-0 win for Burlow against Elliott. All four of Gobshite's claims were rejected. Not only that, it was mentioned in that tribunal that Jane Elliott had harassed not only Burlow, but members of that lawyer's family. It was stated as fact that Jane Elliott had created about a dozen aliases online for purposes of harassment. It was stated as fact that over 4,000 messages had been sent from Gobshite to Burlow and members of his family. These are the facts. So I would suggest, Gobshite, if you really want Sonia Poulton to look into anything dodgy, that she should look into, well, let's just put the dodgy men aside for a second and have a look at one dodgy woman. And that would be our dunce from Drumchapel. It was the most horrendous defeat in that tribunal. But there's more to come. Because on May 21st, we were told by the most unreliable source north of the border and south of the border, one Miss, with a little E, Elliott, we were told that there would be a trial. Oh, that's what we were told. We were told in Glasgow there would be a trial. There would be a trial. And the great enemy here of Jane Elliott would be on trial, one Matthew Burlow, the Glasgow lawyer. Yeah. So there's Elliott getting all excited, going to sit in the trial, rubbing her hands with glee, as Matthew Burlow is undoubtedly found guilty of God knows what. Now, here are the facts. What happened on May 21st was there was no trial. All a load of empty hype from, of course, the dunce from Drumchapel, Gobshite herself. Janey 180 hyped up the trial. There was no trial. On the contrary, what happened was, and here are the facts, Matthew Burlow went to court to pick up a letter from the prosecutor. And the prosecutor said quite simply that at this stage there is not sufficient evidence to move forward with any prosecution. In other words, there's nothing to this. And I believe the case was some kind of stalking case. I would put money on the table. I'm not a betting man. But if I were to bet on this, I'd put money on the table that this stalking claim against Burlow is connected to Jane Elliott, because we have heard nothing but stalking from day one. Elliott claiming others are stalking her. And yet, if you just happen to look at her own YouTube channel, you then are accused of, what's the word? Stalking. Yeah. It is a favorite word of Elliott's. It's used loosely. It is used in cases where there's no stalking at all. After all, if I decide to go and look at an array of different horse faces, I could go to the website of the Grand National, I guess. I could just go to Jane Elliott's own channel and see photos that she's posted of her good self or her bad self there. I could do that. But if I go to do that, I'm not actually stalking. I'm not sure you can stalk a Facebook page or a YouTube channel. You're just looking at it. So if I'm right that the accusations against the lawyer Matthew Burlow were stalking, I would think that accusation came, because of the word stalking, from Jane Elliott, and I'll repeat the facts. There was no trial. Burlow picked up a letter to say, insufficient evidence to move forward. That's it. But again, it is illustrative of the nonsense, the hype, the lies, the garbage, the innuendos that are all misplaced that come out regularly from this Drumchapel dunce, this absolute fool of a non-entity who claims to have support and friends aplenty. But the reality is, there is nothing there. Now, to back that up, I believe the post before that on Janey's YouTube channel tells an absolutely fascinating story, not, of when she's walking little Rosy, the terrier, out in the local park, and some Dachshunds rush out. The fearful Dachshunds are sent into retreat when our heroine of the day, one Gobshite, starts to bark at them. That's it. That's the story worth telling. Gobshite did a bark, started barking, running towards them. Not sure that Gobshite can actually run, but anyway, moving towards the Dachshunds, and these poor little dogs, they ran away. That's the story. Unsurprising, I think that one has no likes, no comments. Well, there might be one comment from a Dachshund or two. I don't know. The third story I happened to look at, and I must say, many thanks to Gobshite for giving me quite a dose of entertainment looking through her posts lately. Yeah, talk about dumb. Recently, I did a video where I said, to me, big red flag is when the Guardia Civil apparently retrieved Jay's body. There were no details given about that retrieval operation, compared to, this is the important point, compared to all the details we were given recently about a person, another man, 48-year-old, sadly, who did plummet to his death in a ravine. And I said, isn't it interesting? All of the retrieval details of the 48-year-old man are in there. The GES group in Spain did the rescue. And I said, isn't it curious that a much more high-profile, focused case like Jay Slater had no such details? Lo and behold, the dunce from Drumchapel starts writing about how there were plenty of articles regarding the search for Jay Slater. Hello? Who was the person that was talking about the search for Jay Slater? Not me. Not anyone. It was all about the body retrieval. So quite why the dunce from Drumchapel would start to write about, plenty of articles about searching for Jay, I have no idea. I can only think that in the diminished and deluded mind of this nutcase, the word search equates somehow to the word retrieval. Now, to me, they're opposites. If I'm looking for something or searching for something, I haven't even found it. If I have retrieved something, I've not only found it, I have the ability to move it. So I can't explain this, but it could be somewhere that our fake Scottish lass from Sunderland, really in the linguistic transition from Geordieland to Glasgow, has lost sense of the difference between search and retrieve. However, I bet if she threw a ball for wee Rosy, I bet if she threw a wee ball for Rosy or the Four Dashens, I get the feeling the wee doggies would know the difference between search and retrieve. That's my guess. I could go on for hours more, and I will, I think, do a part two because Monday tomorrow is not the roast day, but it is the gossip corner where we focus on someone in the AG that has said or done something completely ridiculous. We have to limit it to Monday. We could make it 7 days a week. But I think we'll do a part two and stay north of the border and focus on more of the lunacy that comes out of that empty head known as Janey 180. Hope you enjoyed the Sunday roast with the Scottish flavour. More on Monday. Hasta luego, adios, hasta la vista. See you next time.